Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Leadership Void podcast. And it's Enrique and Vince, and we are hosting Jen Griswold. Vince will introduce an entirety, but we're excited about what she's doing up in the DC area.
Yes, absolutely. I'm excited to have Jen with us today. I call her serial entrepreneur. She is the founder of Mission Entrepreneur, and they have this hot product. It's called Lady Boss Bio from Washington, D.C., the Baltimore area. Welcome, Jen, to the show. Tell us about you.
All right. Well, thanks for having me. So, as you mentioned, I'm in Arlington, Virginia, so right here in the DC area. And I am both a military spouse as well as a veteran myself. I started my career by going to the Air Force Academy. I'm originally from a tiny town in Montana, and the Air Force Academy was my way out and my free education. So that's how I started. I came out as an aircraft maintenance officer, married a pilot, and we like to think of ourselves back in those days as like Ken and Barbie Air Force, which was kind of fun for a while until we started having kids. And then my job as an aircraft maintenance officer was so 24/7 that, and so was his as a pilot. So we knew something had to give. So once we had started having kids, I had to reinvent myself, and I became an entrepreneur, which I've been doing for the past decade plus, about 12 to 15 years now, and I love it. It's totally what I'm meant to do. I have had several different companies over time. I just enjoy helping women, really empower themselves through business. And I think one of the things I'm super passionate about is that military spouse employment has been historically terrible. We have 90% of military spouses who want to work, and yet many of them are still under or unemployed. And I really think entrepreneurship is the answer. So I'm pretty excited about sharing that with anybody that will listen.
Outstanding. And I tell you, I'm excited by what you just said because I know that the statistics are real. For all of those of us that served, we know how tough it is to transition, but mostly the military spouse community is overshadowed by the service of the member. And so we know that sometimes they get lost in the weeds. So tell us a little bit more about Mission Entrepreneur and Boss Lady Bio.
Yeah. Okay. So Mission Entrepreneur, over the years, I've had many different businesses. My first business was started back in 2008. I had a brand newborn. I don't know what I was thinking, but it was a home staging business. And it was basically my first attempt at saying, hey, I don't want to go back to work full time and hire a sitter. I'm still doing the reserves, which I did for my full 20 years. I just retired in 2020. And I needed something that was super flexible. So that was my first business. And I had nobody to look to as a mentor. There were no women in my husband's chain of command or my previous chain of command who had ever been a spouse that started a business. So I had nobody to go to. And I thought, this is a shame. If I've discovered this, what I thought was magical, way to hire myself and create my own business, but there's nobody else to talk to about it, then I got to get to the top and turn around and help some people. So that was the very beginning of it. Now I've had several different businesses of varying success levels. In the middle there, I started a direct selling company, which was wildly successful, and I still have 9,000 women that I coach in that. And so when I hit that point, I said to myself, hey, I need to turn around and start something that's going to help me back 10 years ago. And so that's where Mission Entrepreneur was born. So we create websites and branding services for women who are starting up small businesses. But in doing that, we also discovered that most of these small business women are marketing themselves on social media, and they didn't necessarily need a big expensive website that they didn't necessarily know how to run the back end of, but they could use something more nimble than the link in bio tools that were out there. So we melded those two ideas, and that's where Boss Lady Bio was born, which it is a link in bio tool that we market just to women to help them grow their business, but it's really affordable, really easy to edit. So you don't have to be tech savvy, and it's really picking up steam, especially in the direct selling world. Obviously, that's where I've resided for a long time, so I know a lot of leadership there, but I think you'll see that in the next couple of years, it's going to branch out to far more than just direct selling.
Well, that's amazing. First, congratulations on 2020 meeting that milestone. But what you're doing and what you did was reinvent and evolve from where you were from 2008, giving this great opportunities for business or those that starting out with this boss lady bio. So that's incredible. How did the pandemic either affect Mission Entrepreneur or Boss Lady Bio back in 2020 and now today?
So it's so interesting because, you know, in every entrepreneur's lifespan or in any business, right, there's ups and downs. And I think I'm a runner, so I like to use running analogies. And I always tell people that the magic for me happens at mile 2. No matter how in shape I am, miles 0 to 1 and 1 to 2 are always hard, no matter what. But when you get to mile 2, for me, my brain opens up, my body relaxes, like I'm in a groove, and I really get the most out of it. In business, it's the same way. The beginning is always hard, right? And you're going to always hit hard times, no matter how in shape you think your business is. I think the pandemic was mile 1 to 2, right? And most people never make it to mile 2 to open up and realize the beauty of what comes next. And I think a lot of people failed in the pandemic. I think it hurt a lot of businesses that weren't very sturdy. For us, it forced us to think differently. And that's where really Boss Lady was born during the pandemic, because we kept hearing all these people say, I don't know if I can keep up with this expensive website. I don't know if I, it's going to be worth it to me to keep the back end running. So we were getting that feedback, but at the same time, we were hearing from all these other women who were saying, I want to grow my business online. I can see that social media is getting stronger as a marketing tool. How do I do that? And so even though we never stopped building websites and branding for startups, we just pivoted and put more resources into developing Boss Lady Bio. And because it was so quiet, we really had a lot of time to do that. So, it took about 6 to 8 months of development to really kind of get our product ready. And that was all during 2020. Then we launched in 2021, and we've been off to the races since last year. In fact, we're going to celebrate our first year birthday in April, and all that we've done. And it's pretty remarkable. But I would say the quiet times, although weird for a lot of reasons on the social, personal end, gave us the space we needed to think differently and to be able to build this thing.
Well, congratulations on making use of that time, that quiet time. Folks don't understand how valuable that piece is to clearly think out where you're going to go next. And truly, the first 2 years is where all things are volatile and can go astray. We are about to get on our second year celebration here in the next week or so. But talking about your transition and how you pivot and how you use this time, what's on the horizon for this company?
So my favorite part about entrepreneurship is learning, and I'm constantly reading and learning. And I think what has really hit me big time, because similar to what hit me when I came into entrepreneurship and realized that military spouses need this because they're all underemployed, the epiphany I've had with this is there are no women in tech. And as much as my product is a simplified tech product, it is a subscription as a service, which is largely dominated by men. And, I worked with all men in aircraft maintenance. I'm used to that. So I feel like this is a good challenge for me personally to really rock this space and get my foot in further. So I think this next year we're definitely chasing a number, and then we've got some investors interested. And I really want to build this brand out to be the go-to resource for women when they're starting businesses for simple tech resources. So I got big plans. You keep an eye out.
Absolutely. You're going to shake the room and shake the house. So we
Yeah.
love it. We look forward to the future of everything you're doing. So let's transition, talk a little bit about your leadership. Been through the Air Force Academy, doing veteran space, and now military entrepreneur, as I call serial entrepreneur. So what do you do? What aids you in your spare time to thrive in your professional life?
Well, I have a very supportive family. Like I mentioned, they are home from school today. And so they are very supportive of everything I'm doing in my business. And actually, it's almost like it's our business, I guess, because at dinner time, we'll talk about, a great presentation we had, or, different milestones that we're shooting for. Both my kids are athletes. So we like to use lots of, analogies, like I mentioned. And then I am a big runner. So that is the way that I decompress and keep my head in the game. And remind myself that a lot of times the things that I'm worried about are first world problems that I can overcome. So I would say a combination of family support and a lot of open chatter about my business, so that it doesn't feel like I have to leave work at work. It's kind of, now that we're all working from home, it's kind of all blending together anyways. But my kids and my husband have been so supportive for the entire duration of, my business building. But then for me personally, I have to move my body in order to be the best, to be able to sit down at my desk every day and get work done. So yeah, I'm shooting up to a half marathon, hopefully in the next 2 months. So I've got goals there too. And I don't know, I'm always thinking and running analogies in business almost all the time.
That's wonderful. I tell you, having a supportive family is key to running a great business.
Mhm.
Having an outlet as well, right? Running is a great outlet where you're out there in the free and you're listening to yourself, you're listening to your thoughts, and you're able to categorize those in the proper way for a successful business. And some of those things we learned throughout our journey in life. And I'm sure that you learned some things as you was growing up in leadership and as you was growing up in the Air Force that took you down roads that gave you a positive outcome. What sort of advice did you learn that still you hold on to today and you would like to share with the audience?
Yeah, actually, it's probably sort of two things, but the one that I will say, and it's funny because, my goal growing up in this small town in Montana, my town had about 6,000 people and most of them lived on farms. So, it was all spread out. It wasn't a metropolis by any stretch. There wasn't much going on. We played a lot of sports. But my whole goal growing up was to just get somewhere bigger with more opportunity and, more to learn and more to see and do. And now that I'm older and I think about it through my children's eyes, like I'm so appreciative of those simple beginnings, because it was all about your community. Like nobody there had much money. Nobody was very successful by, society standards, but everybody gave back to the community. Everybody was there to support one another. Everybody cared about each other. And I think I've tried to take that through into military service, where I'm serving somebody else. It's just part of my DNA, into every business practice I've ever had on our direct selling team. Our team name is Team Give, and we're constantly giving back to different efforts, whether it be children who have lost a parent to military service, sending them to camps, or we built a cabin at their camp in Colorado, to, giving back to my local community here. I just think that community and giving back is one of those lessons that I will never forget. And even doing that, like I mentioned about mentorship, I didn't have very many mentors to look to that were female, that could turn around and kind of help me. So I ended up finding other mentors, mostly men, who have been helpful to me, but I'm very much attuned to the fact that now I am turning around and mentoring. In fact, I just got off a mentoring call just before this, to make sure that I'm there to give whatever wisdom I have to ladies that are trying to do what I've done. So I think that community piece and just giving back in any way, shape, or form, whether that be monetary or, time and talent, I'm really big on that.
Absolutely. Giving time, talent, and your treasure, or your nuggets. So thank you for sharing that pearls of wisdom. And growing up from a small town, Montana, and seeking out something big, there's always challenges. So how do you, Jen, handle either challenges you face or currently facing?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Again, typically it starts with, going straight to my husband to say, okay, what do you think about this? And he's really great too, because I don't have a business degree. My degree from the Air Force Academy was human factors engineering. So more of a designing things for people's use, but he does have that business degree. So a lot of times we'll banter back and forth. And often the things I come to that are difficult are personal, team issues, or somebody's, needs this or needs that, or a lot of times they're interpersonal things, and he always has great perspective. So he's my first sounding board. And then, like I mentioned, I typically go to mentors if it's something I don't know. But a lot of what I love about hardship in business is everything in this book I recently read, they say everything is figure outable. If you're willing to put in the time and learn what you don't know, just like being a woman in tech, I didn't know the first thing about developing a web app, right? But when you put in the time to learn it, and then you find the people that know what you don't know, everything is figure outable. So I think I almost welcome challenges now because I have enough experience to know it's not that hard, actually, right? Like, it's not devastatingly hard. I just have to get past mile 2 and I'll figure out that I can be free sailing shortly. I just got to find the tools and the wisdom to get through that little speed bump.
Now, the last couple of months and years actually have caused a lot of change in a lot of people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
You said you was able to manage and navigate those last couple of years and still do something viable and still produce something that is actually giving and being profitable. But times of change come, and sometimes we strategize and implement some things that actually work. What have you strategized around change that has worked and you would like to share?
So I think it's naive to think as a business owner that you could ever do anything without encountering change. And I think the military is actually the playground where we learn that, right? I mean, in my very first business, my husband was deployed, I feel like the entire 4 years I was running it. And I had 2 little munchkins that came with me to every, home staging job that I did. But that taught me that it could be done, right? And that, yeah, I thought I was going to do it one way, but he was never there, and I couldn't afford a babysitter. So we figured it out. And then I sold that business and moved on to the next. In the next business, we moved 3 times, in 5 years. So, kids were changing schools and I was in new markets, but that actually ended up helping me. So I think in a weird way, the hardship of the military just prepares you for entrepreneurship, where change is inevitable. And if the pandemic didn't hurt you this round, something else will. So you constantly need to be thinking, okay, what's coming at me next, and be ready so that it's not devastating and you can quickly figure out what your pivot's going to be and move through it. I think entrepreneurship is a long game. You have to be willing to commit to your idea, maybe not necessarily the first version of it, but to the mission or the why of why you're doing it. It might change in detail, but if you're committed, you'll figure it out every single time. So again, I kind of, not that I'm Pollyanna, I mean, I definitely have hard things that happen too, but I think I've just learned how to embrace the change rather than fight it, and to, be able to overcome and adapt.
Adapt indeed. And I think entrepreneur, in your terms, it's a marathon, right?
Yeah.
So you're always running, and it takes a long time to get there. But you know what? Enjoy the journey, folks, because it's a great reward. And here's a true testament of that. We have with us today Jen, who's doing some great things, Jen Griswold, who's doing some great things from Mission Entrepreneur, and also doing things with Boss Lady Bio. So for folks who want to reach you, Jen, or your companies, how do they go about doing so?
Yeah, so if you want to look up any of our marketing, branding, or website services, you can go to www.missionentrepreneur.com. We have a lot of great things there. And then if you're interested in the mini websites, the link in bio tool, you can go to www.bossladybio.com. And I highly recommend you follow us at Boss Lady Bio over on Instagram, because we give so many tips for how to use an Instagram bio or a Facebook bio or a LinkedIn bio to grow your business, which I think is a concept that not everybody grasps. And we teach it in a very simple way. We also do fun workshops each month. In March, we're doing one for the 10 must-have photos that every entrepreneur should have for their website or bio. So you might want to join us for that.
Outstanding. And I tell you, folks, if that doesn't alone interest you, to look that up, which I mean, I'm thinking, I'm like, wait, I need to get a hold of that and get into that. But folks, if you would like to contact the Leadership Void. The Leadership Void at gmail.com is where you'll send that comment or information or request. We love to hear about any future guests you would like to see on the show. And we also want to encourage you to visit Jen at that website. We're going to have that part of the video and the show notes so that you can get a hold of Jen and her company. Thank you, Jen, so much for being with us today, sharing everything that you've done, all the things that you guys have accomplished in the last 2 years. And we're excited for the folks that will be visiting you soon.
All right. And I should make a quick mention that for guys that want to use a bio, we thought of you too. So we have another URL where it's called onamission.bio. And that you have to go to Boss Lady Bio. The website is still says that, but you can get a bio that says onamission.bio so that there is no boss lady in your title of your bio. So we cater to mostly to women, but a few good men. So if you need a bio, we have everything you need as well.
Absolutely. We'll definitely put that out there. And folks listening in, we do a couple extra things. We have our give back is Radio Check. The 1st and the 15th of every month at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will go ahead and reach out to our community of both military and first responders. So check us out the 1st and the 15th on LinkedIn Live. We go ahead and do Radio Check. Our subscription drive is going strong, hitting our 200. We almost at that mark. Help us get there by hitting like on our subscribe button on YouTube video, The Leadership Void. And guess what? You're going to enter a drawing to win this wonderful book, Standing O by Scott McGregor, autographed book by Indeed. So you can't go wrong by go ahead and just hitting subscribe and helping us reach our goal. Lastly, we have one more week for a free business suit for man and female. Free business suit by listening to the episode last month from A-Rod, Alex Rodriguez. Answer the 10 questions, send it to the email address Enrique mentioned, and you enter that subscription, which we'll talk about next week on our 2nd anniversary, our 100th episode. We're going to share who those winners are. And all this is all possible by our home team of Freedom Mortgage, our sponsor. So we're thankful for them. But today, we're just so grateful to have Jen Griswold. Thank you so much for everything you're doing, and continue going forward in progress in your future.
Thanks for having me.